Hello and welcome back to the Historical Humans podcast. Today we truly are doing something just a little bit different. We finally hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, and to celebrate, we're diving straight into ancient Rome. My name is Justin Woods, and I'm joined today by Colum Coleman and our special guest Aaron Gilpin. Colum, do you just want to dive us right in? I know this is your area of expertise, and he's been frothing at the mouth ever since we started.
Do not start with that. You say random words, and no one can see us except on YouTube.
Yes.
And speaking of YouTube, so we made it to 1,000 subscribers. We did not think we would get to this mark. Certainly not as early as we have. Historical Humans has only been around for 9 months, and we're all very excited by this, and we're very happy with all the support the community has shown us so far. So with that, we're going to come into the Flavian Dynasty. This is Imperial Rome's second dynasty, and it represents the first real transition of power between one dynastic family to another. And oh dear God, is it messy.
I love it so much.
All right, so to kick us off, we have in 68 CE, Nero, 5th Emperor of Rome, 6th if you count Julius Caesar, which
No
we
one
don't.
does. No one does.
You'd be surprised some people do. It's so
They're
confusing.
wrong.
Anyone who's not a classicist, for some reason counts Caesar as an emperor. I think Suetonius screwed up and made that a thing.
Of course he did.
Was it just a generic leader prior to that? Or
He was a
No,
dictator.
Caesar's official title was dictator for life.
Oh, okay. So that transcends emperor.
Yeah.
Emperors are second class to Caesar. Okay.
Whereas the titles for the emperor were princeps or first citizen and imperator or commander.
Eventually they just stuck with Imperator.
Yeah. But anyway, when Nero is deposed in 68 CE, he commits suicide after being run down by an armed mob.
It happens.
Very fun. That is the end of the Julio-Claudian dynasty, which is Rome's first imperial dynasty. And there is no one left to succeed him. He has no heir. The Julio-Claudians have exhausted their lineage through extensive family murders and general mismanagement.
Yeah. They had a real, even after Augustus, you get some rough moments.
Yeah, the Julio-Claudian dynasty, 5 emperors, only 2 of them were good at the job, Augustus and Claudius.
Yeah, and Claudius didn't even want the job.
Yeah. That's why he was good at it.
That's true.
He was a quiet, bookish man who knew what he was doing. The other, Nero, Tiberius, and what's his name? What was his name? The third one? Caligula. Yes, Caligula. We're all megalomaniacs and murderous.
I mean, there's this idea that with Nero, at least, it was more just bad propaganda that survived rather than him actually just being crazy. But it didn't help that he took advantage of the fire in Rome to build the Domus Aurea. So
yeah, didn't he play
Nero's
his fiddle while Rome burned?
That is propaganda. That is largely propaganda. However, he was known to have such a large ego as to force people to sit through like 8-hour sessions of just him playing the violin badly.
Funny enough, also he had a statue made of himself as Sol Invictus.
Yeah, it's a colossal statue, and it's going to give its name to a very famous monument.
So I need to just force you guys to listen to my music for 8 hours on end while I practice.
No. Listen, Nero was a megalomaniac, but he wasn't particularly insane like Tiberius and Caligula.
Tiberius was we can have a whole special episode.
Tiberius did a lot of things that we cannot say here or anywhere else where there is a banhammer. Because even though we'd be telling historical facts, they are so horrible. But we're not here to talk too much about the Julio-Claudians, because right after Nero dies, we have 69 CE, the year of the 4 emperors. This is a roundhouse civil war where essentially all these Roman emperors or wannabe emperors just sort of pop up and play whack-a-mole with one another. It's wrong to call it a 4-way civil war. because it was a series of 4 two-way civil wars, as each one popped up, fought another, popped up, fought another, popped up, fought another.
Yeah, it's like it was just there's
Some
a
things
lot
just never
going
change.
on.
Some things just never change.
Yeah.
It doesn't help that, funny thing, there's a process, or well, there's a form of what's it called? Election, or it's like a claimant or something like that, where essentially the soldiers declare their leader.
Yeah. Yeah,
uh
yeah.
Emperor.
Your legions under your command or the Senate can declare you emperor. Um, you have to then get to Rome and get the Senate to affirm you as emperor, or get the military to affirm you as emperor if you are, depending on which one you got first. On account of the fact that those are basically the only two things you need to rule are soldiers and politicians.
Yeah, they really simplified that recipe and really figured out a way to make it efficient. And
Yeah. The Roman Empire was a military state. To lead in Rome, you had to prove that you were a competent military commander no matter what. That was the primary qualification for the job, was be good at killing people with armies.
is he a warmonger?
Sorry, that's what it was. It was proclaimment,
Yeah.
where the soldiers like declare their general as emperor. But yeah, they did have to be recognized by the Senate, and sometimes you can just do that by having an army near Rome.
Well, when you have 6 legions on the bank of the Tiber, it kind of becomes pretty hard for the Senate to say no to you.
Yeah.
Again, another valid tactic if they're not going to do it by politics.
That is Roman politics. Rome is a military dictatorship since like the dawn of time. Even the Senate was a military dictatorship when they ruled in a republic. Because to be in the Senate, you had to be a rich person who was a proven commander.
Pretty much. And even then, the two consuls were just essentially generals. They're the only them and the rank under them, the praetors, were the only ones who had imperium, which allowed them to essentially run armies outside of Rome.
Yeah. Yeah, there's exactly one non-military post in the Roman government, and that's tribune of the plebs. And more often than not, that guy is a former military leader.
It's how you get popular.
Yeah.
Because all the voters have to serve in the military at some point, whether like it or not.
Yeah. In order to vote, you have to have citizenship and reside in Rome. In order to do those
and a man.
Yeah, and a man. In order to get citizenship and the right to reside in Rome, you have to either A, be born into it, or B, serve in the military for about 10 years.
Wow.
Or there is also another path, but that takes longer and it's generational.
Yes, we're not going to talk about how money speaks in the Roman Empire.
Well, not only that, like you could have your like great grandfather a slave, and then by the time you're born, you could be technically a Roman citizen. But it takes, again, that's generational, and there's a lot faster ways to do it sometimes.
Yeah. Usually by stabbing people for 10 years on behalf of the government.
It works. If you survive.
Yeah.
But anyway, our first emperor of the year of the 4 emperors, the guy who steps up into the void to restore order at the start of this is Galba. He's a very old and respected general. He controls the legions of Spain. He's got a good deal of authority behind him. And, he seems at first like he might be a decent choice. He's not going to rule for too long, so if you don't like him, he can kind of wait a little bit because he's so old and he's got the proven qualifications to do it. The problem is Galba is an absolute monster and his own people kill him.
I would also like to mention that like some of these people, they weren't in power for so long, because at this time, in order to like get the image of the emperor out, you would make a marble bust. Marble busts take quite some time, and so sometimes the only image that we have is on coins, because coins can be minted a lot faster.
Yeah, not a single person here ruled for longer than 6 months.
Yeah, so Fun times
Uh,
to be a sculptor.
Yep. He's succeeded by his supporter and the only man to not enter Rome as emperor, Otho, who is ironically the man who has him killed.
Yeah.
Um, Otho is an imperial governor and a politician who had declared for Galba, but decided that he could do the job better after Galba decided to be a power mad dictator. His only real military backing was the Praetorian Guard, which is the sort of mini legion that is appointed to protect the emperor's life, which very much explains how he managed to kill the previous emperor.
Yeah, well, you get a theme with this later on.
Yeah, yeah. He commits suicide after a number of legions declare for the third emperor, Vitalis, and his small military force is crushed in the Battle of Bedriacum. I cannot speak. Yeah, because he has no real military. Yeah, and that's going to take us as we rush through these four powerful characters. Is we have Vitellius, who is a general who's been tasked with patrolling the Rhineland and has the Army of the Rhine, which is this military force designed to keep the Germans out of France, a millennia-long problem.
They're not very successful after a certain point.
They're not very successful ever. It's impossible to patrol that border.
What makes the Rhineland so difficult to guard?
It's a massive river. It's just a massive river, and it's impossible to patrol the entirety of that river.
That's what the outposts are for.
Yep. So at any point in time, people just run across wherever you're not.
That's fair.
Yeah. So Vitellius, he gets to the throne, and it's not too long after that Vespasian rises to challenge him. And Vespasian beats him at the second battle of Bedricum. You think he would have learned that setting up in the same formation as the guy he beat in the exact same place would be a bad thing. But no, he deploys just like Otho and gets crushed just like Otho. And so he gets executed by Vespasian's brother, who is just so happens to be the commander of the Roman city guard.
Oh yeah, that's one way to get killed.
Yeah.
How did that slip his oversight?
Those pesky guardsmen.
Well, the big reason is Vespasian's voice in Rome, while Vespasian is away being a general and a governor, is his youngest son Domitian, whose job is to work with the Senate and sort of represent the family. Vitellius thinks that if he takes Domitian hostage, all the Flavians will back down.
Yeah.
However, Vespasian's brother's like, that's not my son. Kills him.
He's just like,
It's like, well, it's not my kid, and my brother has two.
Oh yeah. He's like, we'll kill him. He's like, okay, it's not my kid.
Doesn't go well. Vespasian is declared for by his legions in Judea, where he is currently putting down a revolt against the Roman Empire. Vespasian enters Rome, and the Roman Senate declares him emperor on December 21st of the year 69.
Nice.
And after that, the succession crisis kind of dies out because by this point, Vespasian has control of Egypt, and if anyone opposes him, Rome starves.
Yeah, at this point, Egypt is the new breadbasket of the Roman Empire. It used to be southern Italy for a long time.
However, the rivers of the Nile was the only land fertile enough to support the massive Roman population of several million, and Rome needed daily shipments of grain from Egypt in order to not begin starving almost immediately.
Yeah, yeah. At this point, whoever controls Egypt controls Rome.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Oh yeah, it's bad. But anyway, Vespasian is going to be the founder of the Flavian dynasty. His name is Titus Flavius Vespasianus. We know him as Vespasian and his dynasty as the Flavians. They are going to rule Rome for the next 27 years.
Which doesn't sound like a lot, but because it isn't.
Yeah, it is Rome's shortest imperial dynasty. The other four imperial dynasties and these are dynasties of what is known as the Principate era. So this is the time from Augustus to the third century crisis. Are the Julio-Claudian dynasty, which had 5 emperors rule for 95 years. The Flavian dynasty had 3 that ruled for 27. The Antonine had 7 emperors that ruled for 96 years. And the Severan dynasty, which had 5 emperors rule for 42. So, Flavians, they're the smallest dynasty by far out of all of them. They've got the fewest emperors and the shortest time. But they do a lot. Namely, one of their biggest things is they win the first Jewish war, which is also called the Great Jewish Revolt, sort of like how the First World War is called the Great War because no one knew there'd be a franchise.
There weren't any sequels planned yet.
Let's just hope there's one.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, the first Jewish War was a rebellion against some of the policies of Emperor Nero that started in 66 CE. I believe the main focal issue for this one revolves, as with all of them, the worship of the imperial family, because emperors were deified typically upon death, sometimes while they were living, and you were expected to pay tribute to the god emperor.
And all the other gods, usually.
Or at the very least, the imperial family. And Roman policy said that you weren't, as an individual citizen, forced to really worship any particular god or set of gods. However, whatever deity you worshipped must be worshipped in addition to the imperial family. The imperial family were mandatory gods. The people of Judea are Jewish. They know only one God and no others. This caused problems.
Yeah, I can see why. I would like to also note, so it's really funny. So technically, an emperor wasn't a god necessarily until they died. But you still had to kind of treat them like they were. So in all depictions of emperors while they are alive versus when they're dead, one of the key characteristics is whether or not they're barefoot. If they're barefoot in the depiction happened after their death.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's before and they have sandals, then that's before they died. But you still have to make sacrifices as a way to
because it's the cult.
Yeah, it's
the cult of the imperial family is what it is. So if you're sacrificing to them, you're not technically sacrificing to them as Emperor Vespasian the individual. You're sacrificing to the guardian spirits that are the house of the Flavians who are protecting all of Rome. You're sacrificing to the Julio-Claudians to protect all of Rome and her holdings. And the Jewish people do not appreciate this idea of sacrificing to someone's dead spirits.
Isn't there a commandment about that?
Yeah, well, in Christianity there is a commandment thou shalt not take a god before me. So I mean,
And yeah, that
No,
that
after is
is
fine.
yeah, yeah, and I believe that commandment comes from Moses, so it is also held in the Jewish tradition.
Okay.
That commandment comes from Moses. Moses is the original prophet, and so basically, yeah, any to sacrifice or treat anything other than the one true God as a deity is worshiping of false idols and sacrilege by the Jewish faith, which means they can't worship the cult of the imperial family, which means they're technically rebelling and committing crime against Rome.
Uh,
Rome
uh,
cracks down on this under Nero because Nero's ego can't take it, and the Jewish people decide that they don't want to be a part of Rome.
there's also this idea that Rome has to be at peace with the gods, Pax Deorum.
Oh yes,
So
yes,
if you don't make the required state sacrifices, you are a threat to that peace.
yeah, yeah. Roman religion is a series of hostage situations. Basically, the Roman people must make sacrifices to the Roman gods so that the Roman government doesn't attack them. The Roman government must ensure that people make sacrifices to the Roman gods so that the Roman gods do not destroy Rome. It's a series of hostage situations that just starts falling like dominoes the second any significant group of people step out of line. And the entire province of Judea is a significant group of people.
And even then, like originally it was mostly a client state, so there were some exemptions, but after the rebellion, those exemptions were gone.
Yeah. So Vespasian has 80,000 men at the behest of Nero to go to Judea and crush this revolt. This means that Vespasian has the largest standing army at the time that Nero dies,
Wow.
which is why he gets the throne in the end, because he has access to more troops, which means more people will declare for him than anyone else, which means he then has access to even more troops. It's just a domino effect. It's literally a sword measuring contest.
I like how you. I hate you for that. I really hate you for that,
You're
Colum.
welcome.
And I was gonna say, like, that is pretty much the House of Cards. It's like, yeah, well, I've got the large army.
Yep.
I have a Hulk.
Yes.
Boo! We do not support
thought the
that
beast-
franchise.
I thought the beast had wandered off. But yeah, so at the time he takes power, he's currently engaging in the siege of Jerusalem. Jerusalem is the holy city of Judea. It's the capital of Judea, and the defenders are holding it to a man. This is a holy war for them, and it is we are going to God or we are going to glory.
It's almost as if that city in particular has faced a number of historical sieges.
Yeah, I'm sure that won't be a trend.
I don't think that
A
it's so
significant-
rare for it to happen multiple times in the same location.
We're in Judea. A significant portion of the bad guys are going to be Romans.
Like in Book of Brian. Or
Life of Brian.
Brian, yeah.
If you are going to quote Monty Python in this holy castle, you must correct it appropriately.
Actually, I just want a Book of Brian. I want that.
Yeah. Anyway,
That's what the script is called.
Yeah. Vespasian, to march on Rome, entrusts the winning of this war to his son, his eldest son, Titus. You may remember Domitian, his younger son, is in Rome being a statesman / hostage at this time. Titus is off being Vespasian's right-hand general. And this is going to come up later with the two brothers as shit develops. But he entrusts it to the son Titus, and within 4 years, Titus has won the war. He has torched the city of Jerusalem, and he has brought all of its treasures back to Rome in a glorious triumph. Among these treasures is the Ark of the Covenant.
Supposedly.
It's depicted on Titus's arch.
It's like the menorah and
Yeah.
supposedly the ark. That one's
Wait, didn't they find it? In that
Supposedly, it was supposed to be in Ethiopia.
Well, I
It's
was saying in
supposed to be a. It's
that
supposed to be a
Indiana
lot of
Jones movie,
places.
I saw Harrison Ford with the Ark, and they killed all the Nazis.
That's
Remember?
not a real. That's not a real archaeologist, Justin. You know this,
Then
but
why do I have his hat?
there is a. You're not wearing a hat.
No, but I do. Every archaeologist has an Indiana Jones hat.
Sure.
Unfortunately, true.
Mhm.
We've all thought about it.
But yeah, with the destruction of Jerusalem, the Vespasian and the Flavian dynasty is secured because now they've sort of that's the last thing from Nero's reign that they've had to do, and they've mopped it up, and it's proven them to be very capable, very prestigious military leaders, which is what you need in Rome. And Vespasian was very much aware of how tenuous his position was as only the second dynasty. He had, they had to overthrow three other people just to get to him.
Damn.
So this
It's all
military,
happening within a year.
yeah,
This is a
this,
whole year.
yeah. Well, the siege of Jerusalem goes on till 73.
True, but the year it is the year of the four
It is the year,
emperors.
yeah. The three people who died to become emperor was all 1 year. So like, this military victory is huge for Vespasian because it's sort of the final proof that the Flavians are destined to rule Rome. The Flavians are capable of ruling Rome. There shall be no further challenge.
Hopefully
Discussion
not for
closed.
a long time.
Yeah,
Yep.
just discussion closed. Case resolved. Next.
Yeah, so so we come to Vespasian, who is going to be the first emperor. The entire Flavian dynasty really just consists of him and his sons. And Vespasian rules for a prosperous 10 years, from 69 to 79 CE, which a decade as emperor of Rome is a pretty decent track record.
So
That's
you
a
said
pretty stable reign for these people.
they lasted 27 years, and that was 10 years of it. So either both sons had a moderate career, or one of them
Yeah.
didn't quite make it as long.
Yeah, Titus doesn't go very long, but we'll come to that in a minute. So Vespasian has a major problem with the Flavian dynasty ascending onto the throne. See, Vespasian is from the Italian gentry, which means that his social status is that he's one of the allied Italic states from the early days of Rome. He's not a true Roman-born Roman in the sense that Romans think of it. He is not a man who has been born in the city of Rome to a family exclusively from the people of the city of Rome. He's an outside aristocracy in the eyes of the Senate.
Ooh.
And that really, really contributes to a lot of his decisions. The plus side of this is when he starts making reforms and cutting back on the expenses that Nero had, all the self-indulgences, he's able to do it pretty easily because those are Julio Claudian expenses. Those are Roman type expenses. I'm not a true Roman. I shouldn't live in that kind of grandeur. Gold-plated rose petals for dinner. 10,000 denarii for a single night of drinking. Those are Roman expenses. I'm just an Italian aristocrat. I shouldn't have that kind of price tag on my dinner.
How humble.
I respect it, though. I mean, that is a good power move. Like, look at me. I am a man of the people. I am not like these other guys. I don't need such grandeur. Hashtag so relatable.
It also led to him just basically looking around at a lot of imperial held lands and saying, you know what? That's going to be a public work now. That's going to be a public work now. That's going to be a public work now. Because he knows that he's going to need popular support to rule Rome, because the Senate, as much as they accept him because of his strength, is not going to be fully with him. And it gives him an excuse to really propagandize, because Architecture speaks. This ancient city of Rome was a series of propaganda machines for different emperors, building grand monuments so that you knew just how strong these men were.
Yeah, so one of the interesting things to know is that the Senate had if you see any monument with SPQR on it, it means that the Senate is dedicating that monument to so and so.
Yeah,
So that's an
yeah,
interesting thing to
yeah.
know.
The SPQR stands for Senatus Populusque Romanum, which is the Senate and the people of Rome. And it's meant to say the Senate and the people of Rome give you whatever the hell this is. These days, it's mostly stamped on like manhole covers and lampposts because that's what the city spends money on to maintain the city.
And free water.
Oh yes, lots of free water.
How do you
That's
stamp it on the water, though?
It's on the water spigot. Which
yeah,
honestly is such a great idea, considering how much you have to actually just walk around the city.
yeah,
So like, it's like almost a guarantee thing that if you have a water bottle or something, you can fill it up at the spigot, or you can like, or have it turned on for your like dog to drink out of. It's
yeah.
really cool.
So
It is.
now, what kind of things did these public works end up being? Were they like parks? Were they venues? Were they
Oh,
places for?
they were venues, all right.
They
Oh
every
no!
The Romans were, even if the public work was extremely decorated and decadent, it still had to serve a function.
Yeah,
So, especially with the arches, it's supposed to be a physical representation of a process in which captured soldiers were supposed to go under the swords of their uh
conquerors. Yeah,
conquerors, yeah, as a form of submission.
yeah.
So the arches are a symbolization of you are walking under the arch and you are submitting to Rome and whoever this monument's dedicated to.
Yeah, so they built a lot of these massive monumental arches of triumph that you would then parade your prisoners through that you took in war as a big symbol of, hurrah, you are then, defeated and humiliated. Which, let's be honest, being dragged in trains through the streets is pretty humiliating.
You kind of get some things thrown at you too.
Yeah,
Oh, like rotten
but
fruits.
yeah,
Rotten fruits, rocks,
Oh, my favorite.
shoes,
yeah.
probably.
Latrine pens.
Nah,
Okay.
nah.
I don't know about that one.
Average Roman citizen's not rich enough to throw a shoe at you. These people need grit. These people need daily bread handouts to live.
Considering that I walked around those streets, yeah, those shoes are like vital. Those basalt roads, God.
Yeah, it's horrible. But the Vespasian does commission the venue to end all venues. He builds the Flavian amphitheater. He dies before it's completed, but he makes sure it gets built. This is what we know today as the Colosseum, because he decided to build it next to the colossal statue of Nero as the god of the sun.
Yeah, funny.
Location is a fuck you to Nero.
Yeah, so funny story about that. The Domus Aurea, which was Nero's imperial palace, was torn down under Vespasian to build the Colossus or the Colosseum. But funny enough, since it was the Colossus statue is essentially supposed to be a depiction of a god, but with Nero as a god, they have to ask the god if it's okay to take the statue, either probably maybe not even destroy it, but just to move it. And the omen they got said no, evidently. So they just kind of had to leave it.
Yeah, it's pretty funny like that.
But another thing is, like, building this amphitheater, one, colossal scale, it's like crazy. But another thing is, amphitheaters were banned in Rome proper, for a long time, because amphitheaters can often be a source of plays, which could be used to either mock the aristocracy, but also if for hosting games, and they can get the people riled up. And therefore, Rome didn't need that in the middle of their city, because that if the people get riled up, it can be mayhem. So all amphitheaters had to be temporary and built in the campus martius or outside the city limits in general. And they had to have a permit.
Yeah. This is the first permanent one in the city of Rome, because entertainment is so hard to come by for the people of Rome. And just building this makes Vespasian and the Flavians hugely popular with the Romans as a people, because they're not just going to get an amphitheater. They're going to get the amphitheater to end all amphitheaters. Its scale is designed to match the city it's built in. Rome is a city of 1 million people. This thing can house them. Not all million at once, but it is a sufficiently sized theater that it can hold enough people that you can actually have venues and most people go.
Honestly, you probably wouldn't even have to go that day, because the games would probably last all week. So as long as you went to one of those days, you would probably get a good seat.
The games lasted for 100 days.
Yeah, that's the inaugural games, hosted by Emperor Titus when the structure was completed in the year 80, just after Vespasian's death.
Wow.
And then in an effort to one up his father and brother, Domitian added another level to the top to house more people, and introduced the hypogeum, which is an underground network and tunnels that are currently exposed to the air today, designed to allow people and animals to appear in the middle of the amphitheater at will, and to flood the amphitheater so that you could have actual ships sail around in it and host a naval battle.
I still don't fully comprehend that. Like, how did they waterproof it? How did they manage to bring so much water?
So let me tell you a little bit of a story. So to understand the grand size of the Domus Aurea, there was a whole park within it that had wild animals and a working pond. That was, so what's thought is the Colosseum took it after like the pond was drained, because the pond was regularly drained and cleaned and had like fresh water in it. So essentially what they did was in the original design, it was, they took advantage of those original drains to do like the naval battles, but at some point they were removed to put in like the underground part for where you would have the staging grounds underneath the arena.
But all those tunnels still connected to the underground aqueducts that were feeding the pond, so it's pretty simple to just turn it on, turn it off.
Pretty much, yeah.
Interesting. You know, I guess the reason it baffles me so much is to consider that was 2,000 years ago.
Yeah.
And they had plumbing, they had running water, but just that scale and size is very impressive.
The Romans are masters of exactly two things when it comes to building. Water management and concrete. And between those two skills, they can basically create anything.
I like that they finally Sorry, Aaron.
Yeah, you're fine. My favorite construction project that the Romans did happens actually earlier on, and it's the sanctuary of Fortuna Primogenta, and it's like one of the first testaments of the uses of concrete in the Roman world, and because it just essentially allows them to make sturdier, more exact, like more bizarre structures. It is. They
mastered concrete. They then mastered waterproof concrete using volcanic materials instead of the normal
Well,
stones.
not just that, but that was what I was going to bring up earlier. One of my favorite facts is that they couldn't figure out the recipe for Roman concrete because they kept using fresh water.
Yeah, it's salt water plus volcanic ash.
Yes, that is the secret to Roman concrete. Try it yourself today.
Go build your own structure, kids.
Build your own Colosseum. Show me how great you are.
We do not condone amateur engineering.
Hermits are overrated, kid.
Send us pictures of your creations today.
No. Don't do that. So yeah, he builds the Colosseum among all the other works that he does. This is the big one. And he starts a lot of these projects from Egypt because he spends the first year of his reign in Egypt, just making sure that if anyone goes against him, he has all the food.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough.
And this right here is where you sort of see a split in his authority and the dynamic between his sons. Because while he's in Egypt during the first year of his reign, Titus is in Judea, fighting a war as a successful military general, winning glory for the dynasty and the empire and himself. Domitian is in Rome, with all the senators and the bureaucrats, actually filling out the paperwork and making sure everything that Vespasian wants done is getting done by the Senate. These are two very different sources of power and authority. And both men are kind of poised to be his heir apparent throughout most of his reign. It's not healthy for either of them.
Two brothers killing each other for power in Rome? Haven't heard that story before.
That's the most Roman thing in Roman history is to kill your brother for power.
Fratricide.
All right, kids, if you live in Rome today, please do not kill your brother. We do not condone hermanocide.
It'd be fratricide.
No, stop that, Colum. We know better. We do not condone murder. We don't condone murder at all.
We don't condone mothers? What's wrong with you? All right.
I condone mothers.
Yeah, it's unconfirmed whether or not they kill each other. That's unconfirmed, but we'll come to that in a minute because first, because we've got a few more things that Vespasian does to really make the Flavians a powerhouse. Then one of the things he does is he reforms the Senate. Because see, one of the things that happens in civil wars with Romans is most of the people who are important in those wars are also senators. Which means that these senators are more often than not backing losing sides. And in Rome, when you back a losing side, you are killed and your assets become assets of the state. So after 4 emperors in 1 year, the Senate is somewhat short-staffed.
Oh, man.
I can just imagine there's 12 of them left just sitting around oh, man. What do we do, guys?
It sucks about that guy, you hear?
And what Vespasian does is he reforms the Senate by allowing the equestrian class. This is a class of wealthy, landed, typically horse-owning, hence the name equestrian, individuals who are the social rung on the Roman ladder just below the patrician class, which is where the senators usually come from. He promotes a bunch of these equestrians into the patrician class, thereby gaining a lot of loyalty from the Senate, because now the majority of people in the Senate owe their seats to the Flavians and not to their grandfathers, as most people in the Senate would. It's technically not hereditary, but it definitely is.
Yeah. No one's going to care, right? That's not going to be an issue at any point in time in Roman history.
Yeah, but...
Not like flashpoints happen all the time.
Yeah, so he rebuilds the Senate, and he institutes new taxes because the treasury is decimated. A year of civil war and Nero's decades of corruption have just left... There's no money. And Vespasian needs to get building fast. So he starts taxing things. And there's actually some pretty popular taxes. He's putting in new taxes, but people seem to really like them. The biggest one I found was he put a tax on urinals. You had to pay to use the bathroom in Rome.
That's a pretty Roman thing nowadays, though. European in general having to pay to use the bathroom.
Yeah, I've seen that one in a few countries.
It starts with this man.
Oh, great! So now we know who to blame. We have to go 2,000 years in the past.
It's a
bastard.
It's a euro to use a toilet. Him. It's all Vespasian's fault.
Dude, if
Damn
we had
you,
to pay taxes
Vespasian.
to use, if we had to pay like a tax to use the bathroom here, the amount of people who would probably just use it in front of the door, like we are a spiteful
I
people.
would be screwed. I would be like so broke.
Yeah.
I mean, we got to make up for it. Our state just got rid of the gas tax for a year.
And grocery
Yep.
tax.
That
Woo.
too.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. His son Titus concludes the first Jewish war with a resounding Roman victory, and thanks to those things, he's able to establish sort of this myth that the Flavians were destined to rule. They've struck down all their enemies. They've crushed the rebellion against the Julio-Claudians. They are the heirs apparent. And over a third of the coins that they mint in this period have inscriptions to the military victories of the Flavians and the
Good for
peace
them.
they bring, which is an absurd number. Like 1 out of 3 coins basically have written on it, Vespasian, the man who brought you peace.
the coins are always fun because the best way to spread propaganda, especially in Rome, is through the coins because you can mint them so fast.
Oh yeah.
The
Yeah.
amount of coins you could produce in a month is absurd. Like we think that we on this scale in ancient Rome,
Mhm.
insane. Like we think about here in the modern era, like how fast we can print money. I mean, like it's industrial, but it's also insane for the period of Rome.
Oh yeah, it is absurd. Equally absurd is the standing bounty that Vespasian had for historians to write about him and his family. If you wrote a history of his rule or his family and brought it to the government and let them read it over and maybe make a few suggestions, you could get a lot of money. And most famous historians of the period took up on that offer. Suetonius, Tacitus, Pliny the Elder, and my personal favorite, Josephus. Josephus is a Jewish man who writes the history of the Great Jewish Revolt. And even though his people are massacred, his religion mostly outlawed, and his holy city burned to the ground, he still describes Vespasian as a savior.
Wow. Gee, the
account is considered mostly unbiased, but he got paid to say that.
We talk about how the removal of certain topics in textbooks in the modern era is rewriting history. Now we know where to just keep focusing all this like modern hatred. All the things we hate in the modern era started here.
Americans are Romans with oil. That's all we are.
Oh, so we're the third Rome. Got it.
No, we're fourth Rome. We're fourth Rome.
Oh yeah,
So,
Finland's third Rome, right?
Colum, I think that needs to be the merchandise that we release. Is America is Rome with oil, and just leave it at that.
We might have to. We might have to.
I mean, we kind of did some stuff similar. I mean, our Constitution's kind of based on some stuff out of Rome. Mm-hmm. Our architecture, how we have a statue of George Washington in the likeness of Jupiter. We don't talk about that.
We don't need to talk about that. We don't talk about Jupiter.
No.
There's a lot of weird cultish stuff that we have.
We have a freaking obelisk as a monument to a man.
Well, said man
had
very obelisk-like features.
And then also we have like this weird painting in like I think it's the Capitol or the White House, where it's like all of like the Roman gods, and then George Washington again is in the center of it.
Sure.
It's like an American version of a famous painting. I can't quite remember which one it is.
Yeah, we have a problem. But anyway, he also suppresses a lot of his dissenters, and this is the main source of any negative criticism against Vespasian, is the Stoics. The Stoic philosophers, they're a group of philosophers that they effectively don't care what happens. They have a general belief of accepting that if it's going to happen, it is going to have happened, and you need to do your best to just deal with it and move on. It's, work. So they really didn't, there wasn't really a lot of threats Vespasian could level against them, because it's like, if I am afraid of losing something, I do not ask God to not lose the thing. I ask God to let me lose my fear of losing this thing. That's Marcus.
The Stoics.
That's Marcus
It
Aurelius.
is what it is.
Yeah.
That's Marcus Aurelius, a later Stoic. So he exiles a large number of them just to get them out of Rome, out of places where people can really hear them. And he publicly executes a Stoic by the name of Helvidius Priscus, because Helvidius Priscus was of the opinion that since the Julio-Claudian dynasty was dead, Rome should go back to its previous form of government. The imperial experiment has failed. The line of emperors has ended. We should be a republic again. This did not go well with Vespasian.
Yeah, I wonder why.
It's kind of hard for an emperor to go, what we need is less emperor.
Yeah.
What? We need less authoritarianism. When?
No. I know what's best for my people. We need more.
Yep. And it is after this that Vespasian becomes one of the few emperors to simply die of old age.
Wow.
It's a real feat.
Dies of natural causes on June 23rd, 79 CE.
Oh, we missed the anniversary.
Yeah. And he is succeeded by his eldest son Titus. And it's kind of a coin toss as to who should be his heir, because when Titus takes the throne, Domitian is this extremely popular, well-established politician in the city of Rome. And Titus is just the older brother. Titus is unpopular in the city of Rome, but he is a very successful general. And Titus gets the job. Vespasian is not very happy about this, and grievances between the two brothers just sort of increase over Titus's reign. But Titus, he ends his reign, even though it's a very short reign, even though he comes in being generally hated, he's one of the most popular emperors Rome ever has.
Wow. Because
he is an efficient administrator. He knows how to work. He knows how to work disaster relief, and his reign his reign is full of disasters.
79, isn't that quite prominent? There was some geologic event.
They put the crown on his head, and literally within months, Mount Vesuvius erupts and buries two prominent Roman cities, Pompeii and Herculaneum.
There's an omen if I've ever seen one.
Yep.
Fun fact, I've been there, and God, it is cool.
It is an amazing city. I have been there. It is beautiful.
Okay, guys, way to just show off.
It is the estimated death toll is 16,000 people in a single day. That is massive for Roman settlements, because aside from Rome, there are no real mega cities in the empire.
And Pompeii was an old city. We could have a whole episode.
Oh, yeah.
Wasn't it primarily like a villa town for a lot of the rich?
It was a place with a lot of rich people in it. Yeah.
Yeah. There's some fun sights to see there.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about.
I spent from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. in the city, and I still didn't see the whole thing.
Yeah, no, it is. It takes a lot.
I did see a cool dog though.
Yep.
And the cats.
Yep.
That's the highlight.
So what else happened during this man's short but eventful reign?
Then in the very next year, in 80 CE, both a plague and a fire hit Rome at about the same time.
So this man had a cursed reign.
And in all of these, he's able to perform such effective disaster relief. He's able to get to the victims. He's able to keep people who, are on the outskirts of Pompeii, who, sort of escape the edges of the plague or the fire. He's able to keep them alive. He's able to help them. He's able to mitigate the damage of each disaster, one after the other. And the people love him for it because he gets a reputation as the emperor who cares, as the emperor who, despite being hated by the gods, loved the people. And the people love him back for it. And they forgive him for all these horrible events that he had nothing to do with.
That is like a hell of a...
Yeah.
That is the ultimate public image redemption.
Yeah.
And, PR in the through the roof, man.
and the best part is he comes into this at the start of his reign when he's coming into power. He is hated because right now the city and people of Rome have some very strong anti-Jew sentiments on account of having recently put down a major bloody rebellion from that quarter. The Jewish people are considered heretical and innately dangerous to the existence of the world.
I've heard this story before.
Yeah. And one of the things that Titus has done is his mistress/girlfriend at the time is a woman named Berenice, who is the princess and queen of the Roman client state of Judea. Basically, he takes her as his girlfriend after he conquers the city. And this association, the fact that he is sleeping with what is supposed to be the client state queen of Judea, is hugely unpopular for multiple reasons. Number one, it calls back images of Cleopatra and Mark Antony, which was a pseudo client queen of a Roman state, seducing and destroying a great Roman man in the eyes of the Roman propaganda and the Roman principles. And the second thing is that since she's Jewish, he's considered to be favoring the Jewish people and is accused of caring about them more than the Romans, despite the fact that, he spent 4 years burning the city of Jerusalem to the ground and massacring its populace.
Yeah, it seems like favoritism. He left some alive.
Yeah, clearly. I mean, you took one as a wife.
Yeah.
Girlfriend.
So, they kind of overlook his military accomplishments and say, yeah, well, you didn't really conquer them because you're sleeping with one. It's like, I took their queen to bed. Like, their queen now has to sleep with me because I beat them in war so badly.
I won.
It's not.
It's like, they're submitting to me, guys. And it gets so bad that he actually has to exile Berenice to Judea for the rest of her life.
Oh, he had to break.
They don't get to be together.
That's okay. He didn't rule that
I feel
long.
like that might have been a good thing for her, because I doubt that relationship was too consensual.
So
the relationship seemed pretty functional for an imperial dynastic relation.
Oh,
it was shockingly normal.
Yeah, like the only other normal relationship that I can see that I know of, I mean, I guess Augustus and Livia.
He did try to kill him by the end, though.
True. But the only other one I can think of is Antonius Pius and Faustina.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, those two had a functional relationship, and they actually got to be married.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah. For the most part, Roman emperors do not have very dysfunctional marriages, let's just say.
Even for Roman standards, I'm pretty sure.
It's pretty bad. However, despite all his accomplishments, he dies unexpectedly of fever in the year 81. Some people accuse Domitian of assassinating him. However, by the end of Domitian's reign, Domitian is so unpopular that it's entirely possible that this is propaganda. However, Titus does die unexpectedly of fever on the road shortly after meeting with his brother, and the meeting is not particularly amicable. as I understand it.
Oh,
Had some bad pickled herring or something.
Yeah. There is a fun thing I came across where in the Jewish tradition, uh, there is a statement that God sent a fly up Titus's nose and gave him brain fever to kill him in retribution for burning the city of Jerusalem.
That is a very creative way to kill someone. I will
Yeah.
not lie.
Which I would ask, you guys waited 8 years and he was king of the world for two of them?
God was busy.
Up the wrath of heaven.
God was busy. He was probably doing other things, like killing his son. Oh no, wait, that happened 30 years prior.
That happened a lot prior, yeah.
Oh, I guess yeah.
This
Sack of Jerusalem
is 73.
So 70 years earlier. Well, actually no, because he died at 33, so 40 years prior.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a while. And this brings us to the last of the Flavians, Domitian, who somehow manages to just wreck everything his predecessors have done.
You fucked it all up.
He continues this massive Flavian construction projects, just build, 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 because they need to project that they are strong, that they are emperors. The entirety of the Flavian dynasty feels very insecure that they're not legitimate Julio Claudians. They feel it, and they are very worried about it. So they constantly have to project power. And to this end, Domitian builds the Arch of Titus in commemoration of his brother's reign, and to prove that he most definitely did not murder the man, because look at how much he loves his brother. He's building him a massive marble arch.
Especially his really popular brother, who the people adore.
Yeah.
I was thinking that the arch was in my background, but that's the arch of Septimus Severus.
Yeah, that is 2 dynasties later.
Yeah, so you could see the tomb, like, so you see the baths of Constantine, or the Basilica of Constantine, and then there's the tomb dedicated to Romulus, or one of the Romulus. If you look, or if the picture was wide enough, it'd be further to the left, or at least left for me.
It's off screen. Let's just leave it at that.
It's outside the Roman
Forum.
Yeah. Okay.
Just do that. So Domitian comes in. He's an extremely effective bureaucrat. He's involved in everything. There is no decision that Domitian is not a part of.
So he was an absolutist.
Yeah. Well, he's very good at it, because there's absolutists and there's absolutists who actually know the job, and he's one that knows the job. However,
so he was prepared for the role.
However, he is an absolutist. And since, he doesn't have his, father's ability to just expand the Senate with supporters, because, there hasn't been a war in some, was it 12 years? The Senate is still relatively full. And oh boy, does he butt heads with them.
Oh no.
It's funny because he's the one who's supposed to be the statesman.
Yeah. He is the statesman. However, decades of being a statesman and being overlooked by his father and brother mean he's got a pretty big chip on his shoulder and has spent the last, 12 years thinking he can run the state better than either of them.
So now it's his chance to see.
Yeah, put your money where your mouth is, Domitian.
Yeah. And so now he doesn't want to listen to anyone. And he decides that as the last Flavian standing, his power should be absolute. He even abandons the primary title of the emperor, because in this sort of early imperium of Rome, imperator really means commander, and it's not necessarily the official title of emperor, as any Roman general, any Roman consul, any Roman father could be called imperator by his subordinates, because it just meant you are the one in charge. The official title of emperor is princeps, which is the first among equals. He throws this title out the window in favor of something far more sensible. Dominus et Deus, your Lord and God. He
Wow.
demands
Okay.
he demands to be addressed not as Princeps Domitian of Rome, but Lord and God Domitian of Rome.
Oh boy.
That's only a mild step up in title.
This man's trying to pull a Nero.
And
I don't even think
and
Nero tried
the,
that.
no, not even Nero had the ego to change the title. Nero still had that much sense. What little sense Nero did possess.
Oh, Jesus.
But yeah. And he goes ham. He decides that new taxation made Vespasian popular. I'm gonna make new taxes on
People love
everything.
taxes.
God boy.
He decides that you know what? Uh Vespasian got rid, took the properties of people who opposed him, like the Stoics, and exiled them. I'm gonna do that to the Senate.
Oh, jeez.
Uh,
And he did all of this because, unlike his two predecessors, Domitian didn't really care about a balanced budget. He cared about getting the projects up and out now. He saw how Titus was able to get a ton of acclaim for the Colosseum, even though Vespasian was the one who had commissioned it and saw it built. So he wants all his great works done and done now while he's in office. And that means he's got to front a lot more cash rather than string it out over several years. So he just starts whacking people for their money.
And let me guess, did that add extra value to the coinage? Did it work?
So he does revalue the Roman coinage. He adds more silver to it. That is one of the good things he does. That's one of the few things he does right in terms of policy decisions. Is he's able to. He's one of the few emperors that's able to understand enough about economics to sandbag the Roman inflation, which has been an issue since, I think, the Punic Wars, a full 300 years prior.
That's a lot of inflation.
They have a very hard time dealing with money.
I wonder why.
Yeah, yeah, he also manages to make peace with the Dacians. King Decibel's Dacians. The Dacians are a formidable enemy of Rome. They're in modern day Romania. The Dacians do not get conquered until Emperor Trajan of the Antonine dynasty. They're pretty hardy folk, and he's able to end what is ultimately a futile and expensive war. Mostly because he's interested in trying to build his arches and expand the Colosseum and do all his public works.
And he needs the money. Wars are expensive.
But it is a futile war. Rome isn't losing. It's not an ignominious defeat, but you're gonna be there for another decade or more just fighting in this mosh pit. And he ends that war with honor, which is all he really needs out of it. However, about this same time, he succumbs to paranoia and begins a reign of terror in 89.
Hey, I've heard this story before.
Yeah. He's been emperor for 8 years. He's going to rule for 7 more. And he goes absolutely insane and becomes convinced that everyone is plotting against him. They don't love me enough. And he just starts killing people.
This man really needed a therapist.
Most of the emperors do. And to be honest, when you are an emperor of Rome and at least one major faction doesn't like you, either the Senate or the people, you can really begin to feel like they are plotting against you. You can really begin to feel like they are being ingrateful because you're doing a lot of work for them. They're just not seeing it, and they're just not loving you for it. And you can feel entitled to that love. And when it's the Senate that doesn't like you, they often actually are trying to kill you.
I like to imagine
So
that
the paranoia can become very justifiable.
Is that what ended up happening?
Yeah.
Oh, geez. Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
He is
the Senate killing an emperor?
I've never heard of that
fact,
before.
The Senate doesn't actually kill him. The paranoia goes further. It's his own imperial court.
Oh.
His own staff murders him.
So he was very unpopular.
He is so unpopular that he gets committed to a sin that no emperor has before him. Not Nero, not Tiberius, not Caligula.
Oh,
That's
So
pretty
jeez.
far,
bad.
yeah, yes, we have what is a set. Yeah, we have essentially three terrible emperors. These men had their own reigns of terror. They were megalomaniacs. They were violent. They were often insane. Domitian gets the worst. He is committed to damnatio memoriae, which means even his memory is damned to hell. His face is smashed off of statues, his name chiseled out of records. He is effectively unborn.
Wait, I thought Nero got the Damnatio Memoriae as well.
I don't think he did he.
Yeah, because like a lot of
I
his
don't think they
public
damned his.
monuments,
I didn't think they damned his memory.
they definitely took his name off of some public monuments, I'm pretty sure, but I don't think like after I don't think it was to the extension of Domitian though. Because Domitian built a
I
lot of
think
things.
I think they may have damnatio memoriae him after some. I think they may have done it later, but not on his death.
Okay, fair enough. Either way, again, like this is a big thing, especially in Rome where your memory
Is your
is
life?
yeah. So
It
one
is.
part, a little side tangent about most Romans believed that as long as your name was spoken, you were never truly dead or gone, which is why you would have tombs that you could like interact with. Like some
Yeah.
tombs would have like shade that you could like sit on your
Mhm.
way into Rome, and you'd be like, oh, this tomb is dedicated to so and so, and therefore as long as your name was being spoken, you were still alive in a way. So
Yeah.
the Donatio Memoriae is basically, if the person's already dead, you're killing them twice.
Yeah. Additionally, as an emperor, he's expected to be deified. Damnatio Memoriae prevents that. He cannot be worshipped in the imperial cult like his brother and his father were. And I double checked. Nero does get Damnatio Memoriae. However, it is not on his death, but it is as part of Vespasian's
Ah,
attempt to prove himself greater and worthy of the Julio Claudians by basically saying, look, the Julio Claudians, really screwed up. I am the opposite of that. Now let's get rid of Nero. Also, I'd really like to smash this giant statue of his next to my new theater.
they're just like, sorry, God said no. What? The God said no. Damn.
He is the god. Yeah. Uh, and so, yeah, when that's the last, that's the end of the Flavian dynasty. It's just Titus and his sons. It's the only dynasty to not include extended family. There is no cousins, no uncles, no nephews, no adopted family. It's literally just this man and his biological sons. And with the death of Domitian, the Roman Empire has actually learned from the death of Nero. There is no major succession crisis following because the Roman Senate, instead of letting generals sort of get themselves, declared by their soldiers emperors and marching on Rome, they instead convene a special session to choose from among their number a worthy heir. And they settle on Nerva for two key reasons. Nerva is going to begin the Antonine dynasty because, number one, Nerva is married to a distant daughter of one of the Julio Claudian emperors. Like she can trace her matrilineal lineage back there. So he's married to a Julio Claudian. So we can reset the clock back past this Flavian disaster with Domitian if we put Nerva in charge. Number two, Nerva is super old. He's going to die soon, which means that all the factions of Rome can accept him as their emperor. Because basically, he's dead. He's going to buy us some time to sort of consolidate our power, find our own candidates, and then we'll be poised to strike and take the throne for ourselves. So that's how he gets into there. He's just an elder statesman. He'd been an ally of the Flavians. But Nerva is also very smart, because he learned from the Julio-Claudians and the Flavians as well. And he learned that, number one, bloodlines, not the best way of choosing the next king of everything. And number two, people kind of need to get to know your heir and how they're going to act before they're king. So he looks around all the accomplished statesmen, all the major generals, and he chooses to adopt his successor, because lack of heirs has killed off 2 dynasties. And if we just establish a policy of adopting the most competent person in the empire when we are declared emperor, suddenly we're never going to run out of heirs, and the emperor usually is not going to be horrible. And he starts Rome on the track of the 5 good emperors with the Antonine dynasties. He gets 5 very competent, very capable people who, while they are effectively military dictators, are not self-indulgent megalomaniacs, which is all Rome is really asking for at this point.
You'd think it wouldn't be too much to ask for, but you'd be surprised.
Yeah. And the man he adopts as emperor that really gets the system going is Trajan, who is considered by the Roman people at the time and for a long time after the greatest Roman emperor of their history.
Wow.
Greater even than Augustus. Trajan is the only man, by the way, who is allowed to be buried within the walls of Rome.
Yeah, that's a big
It's considered sacrilege to have the dead in the same space as the living, but Trajan is so great that they enshrine him within the bounds of their own city.
In a column.
So in Trajan's column, in a tower to his own accomplishments, because he is so great. Yeah. But but that's going to wrap it up for the Flavians, as we have now moved successfully into the next dynasty. And the Flavians, they're a little blip on the map in terms of time, but they built Rome. They built it. They institute a building program that is not matched, with the sole exception of maybe Augustus turning Rome to the city of marble.
Interesting. So yeah, they did have quite the impact, and obviously you highlighted a couple of really major events when you think of ancient Rome. I mean, the Colosseum jumps out. People think of Pompeii. It's like, these are all within that.
Yeah, they're the shortest lived, but perhaps the most eventful dynasty of the principality of the principality era.
But I think that's a good note for us to leave off on for our 1,000 subscribers special.
And I decided to check real quick. It is in fact at 1,000 now.
Yeah, we have hit. We prepared this video when we started rising over 900, and at the time of recording, while it was recording, we passed our 1,000 subscribers. So, thank you so much for that. We do appreciate you, and hopefully soon we'll be monetized on YouTube, so we can get some money to actually help us continue to make the videos that you are supporting us in doing. So thank you so much for that.
And also, hopefully we have some fun projects coming out soon.
Ooh, spoilers. Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, let's call it trailers.
Our normal schedule will continue around this video, but this has just been a lovely little bonus special for all of you. Thank you so much for getting us to this milestone. And we really didn't think we'd make it.
I'm really excited I got to be here for it.
And
then we got to do one of my favorite topics.
Justin over here, Mr. Optimism of all things. He wasn't predicting this until we were on for at least a year.
Honestly, when I first I watched some of the early of course I subscribed when you guys asked me to, and I was like, I watched.
We didn't ask anyone to subscribe.
I watched, because I very much enjoy the content. I do follow some other historical based podcasts, But this one's fun, especially since it's my friends. I know who they are. But also I get to see my friends explain their fields and their knowledge, even if they just learned it themselves sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's really fun. I get to see them use their knowledge.
The best estimate for even getting this far was 12 to 18 months. You've gotten us there in 9, so thank you all so much for subscribing. Continue to subscribe, continue to like. We want to get to the 10,000 sub special after all, right, guys?
We may not do one for every 1,000 milestone, but we're gonna incrementally
definitely the
improve
5,000 one.
Yeah, we're not doing one.
I
for
think
every
10.
1,000.
10 is healthy.
Yeah.
We can't oversaturate our own market, but thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys in 2 weeks with our next podcast episode. This is going to end up dropping on Thursday, August 11th. So we're recording it a little bit ahead of time, but thank you guys for watching. And be sure to check out tomorrow's HH Reads, which that one should be.
That is Le Morte d'Arthur, I believe. The Death of King Arthur, which is an Englishman who decided to title his book in French.
Oh, those French. They're so exotic.
Yeah. You want to hear the reasons? Be sure to listen to the reads, because I do explain it there.
It's a fun reason.
Thank you guys for watching, and we'll catch you all next time. Peace.